Oh, there's more dancers! Wah! 나의 리듬에 올라타 boom 우린 부딪혀 sounds like boom 절대 깨고 싶지 않은 꿈 Let's take it John up to the roof Cannibal fight switch까지 true. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And today we're going to be reacting to Treasure's T5 Move dance practice video. Now, this was recommended by a couple of people from former reaction videos, and I'm really excited to watch this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I have not even heard the song before. Normally, I listen to the song, get familiar with it, and don't really watch the dances until I have the opportunity to make this video. But this is a cold reaction. I have no idea what to expect. I have looked up the lyrics, so I kind of have a better idea of what they're talking about, just to see the musicality and the wordplay that's potentially in use here, as well as the choreographers. I know that there are a couple of them that I'm familiar with, one of them being Keel Tootin. He has done work with multiple artists, and I know he was affiliated with Royal Family, so I had seen him on the Hip Hop International circuit. And then Badali. Out of a lot of choreographers, she is definitely one that I really enjoy watching, and I really like her work. So I am intrigued of how their movements kind of collab together, because they are different as choreographers. I know there's two others, but their names escape me at this moment, so forgive me. But without further ado, let's get started. Okay. So I'm noticing a trend with their routines where they do start very subtle. Ooh! This is very different. Ooh! Okay, Harlem Shakes. There's that boy group thing again. Man, I can't escape it. That was a nice position change there. Okay, shapes. It is hard to captivate people with 5 people in comparison to their larger group that they promoted Bona Bona with. Nice. Ooh. Oh. That was a nice transition. Love that. They're very clean too. So that's a really nice thing to note about this group, is I like their cleanliness. Nice. They change formations very often, which is great whenever you don't have a lot of people, because it keeps the viewer's attention. Okay. Oh, I liked that. There's some trust there. And he was singing at the same time. Some of these guys have really good movement quality. Nice. Okay. They're doing a great job of texture shifts and groove shifts, because this song... Whoa, see? Yeah. These songs... I don't know how I feel about that section, if I'm being honest. Oh, there's more dancers! Whoa! This is what I was waiting on. Yeah! Ooh.
Okay, I understand the choices they're making because I did read up on the lyrics and it makes sense. So, very nice. Yeah. Okay. They're like, we're done. Okay, I have some thoughts. Well, firstly, the song was very different than what I was expecting, which was cool. It was groovy, you know? It had this kind of rock to it whenever you listen to the backbeat. So it was really nice to see that kind of integration within the movements to the music. I did pause because I was trying to process what I was watching. There was a particular camera angle near the bridge that I don't know. I mean, it works with the song. But it was just, I don't know, I just felt uncomfortable myself just watching it because I was like, I don't know if I should be watching this. Does that make sense? So, but anyway, I think that's probably their intention, but let's get into it. So I know that I stopped in the middle of what I was saying. And part of that was what I meant to say in that moment was they are doing a great job of integrating different grooves because the song calls for it. So some parts were super chill, and then right as I was talking about it, it got really, really chill. So you were able to see kind of the differences between their grooves, and the grooves match that aesthetic of the music of that time. So that was a really good choice on the choreographer's part. I could not tell the difference between each individual choreographer section, so that was kudos to them. I think it's an A+ for me. Yeah, that's great. So we're gonna watch this at 0.75 just so we can see what's going on a little bit more. So I don't know if all their choreographies are like this, but they have a habit of starting very subtle, but their music is also pretty chill in the beginning that I've seen. I love the pool. So there's really not much to talk about with this part. They're just stepping. They are using their chest a lot more here, and they're not letting it get in the way of how they're choosing to hold their energy as they sing. Nothing super crazy. Yeah, whenever you utilize the shoulder versus the chest, you have a better stability with your lung capacity. So I do like the fact that they're opting for more of the shoulders, and when they use the hands, they also are not over exaggerating with the chest, so there's going to be more consistency in their quality of vocals. That was a really nice moment. Butterfly, they used waves to kind of showcase wings, but then they were also doing some footwork. I'm trying to see what kind of footwork that was. So it goes out in. So if you're curious of how to do that move, there's a couple ways. You can kind of focus on the knees going to the outside and then curling them to the inside while shifting your weight from one leg to the other, especially if you're depending on which side you want to go on, and then going to the other side. So I mean, with that, it's definitely you're going to run into weight problems if you're not familiar with shifting your weight, but that was a really nice move to complement your wave whenever they're talking about butterfly. It was just chill. And they're doing a lot of body rolls, which do not take a lot away from the lungs or your singing as much, which is kind of nice. It's very different than those chest hits that you've seen in some of their other work. Now this next section is a straight on Harlem Shake, but notice how they're walking. They're walking, yeah, they're walking with more of a bend and more of a weight pressed down, and so they're more grounded, and they're not using an up bounce there. They're trying to keep it down, which changes the aesthetic of it in comparison to when you see an OG Harlem Shake. So that was a cool choice on their part. And there is that freaking boy group symbol thing that I've mentioned before. I know it's a thing, and I know that they do it. I don't know, like, it's just, I think every time I see it, I'm like, cringe. But they did a good job. Like, it works for the song. So I don't want to say any of these things in the sense of I don't agree with it or I don't like it. It's not that at all. I think they're great, and they're properly placed throughout the piece. it just always catches me off guard when I see that in 2023 pieces. You know what I mean? Because I think I've mentioned it before. It really feels like 2009, 2010 kind of second gen energy, you know. But that's where most of my K-pop absorption and saturation is based on too. So, but body roll, good, boom. And so they were really nice when they held a position, and then they just kind of carried it, treated the arms similar to a fixed point. So if you don't know what that is, a fixed point is whenever you have a hand or you have a isolated body part, and then everything else is reacting or responding around it. So it's kind of stuck in place, it's fixed. So they kind of had that tad bit little moment there to create that illusion. So you notice that they did body rolls, and they're letting their body move but keeping this isolated, and that's what creates the visual. And they bring it in, boom, ta-ta. So they did, it looks like strobe. I wouldn't consider it a tick. I think it just depends on who the person is, but I would believe that intention, because they want it to look really isolated, I would assume that's a strobe. That was a nice little moment wherever he pulls and goes. I haven't really seen that particular setup wherever they have the different arm positions. I would say one of our friends, his is more, oh, well, the reason why it's like that, I don't know if they were trying to go for an angle, if they were just trying to set up just a position, because I know they twinkle and then they snap, I don't know if they snap or if they accent, but then they set it up. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a very sharp shape. I don't know, but it was a really nice moment that they did there. That was a nice moment there too. So notice that the movement became more aggressive. So, you know, in the beginning it was more chill, and they had the body rolls, and their grooves were a little bit more legato or smooth. And then here, as you hear that start integrating in the background, their movement becomes more sharp, recognizing that that's happening, and they're wanting to build it. Which, when you have a group of 5, that's really important that you really play to your music, because you don't have numbers. And what, another side note, I really like the fact that their numbers came on. I know, I think I saw this often with BTS when they would do their stuff, and then when they would do their breakdowns, a lot of people would come on, and I really liked how they chose to wait it out until that final dance break. Whenever we watched it earlier, I really liked seeing the numbers, and then seeing the choreography that we've seen previously in the song done with the number of people, because it does hit a little differently. You know, it feels, it matches where you want it to go near the end, which was kind of nice. So they're keeping some of the smooth movements, like the chest, the body rolls, but they are integrating more sharper transitions in between, making it more captivating. And they're recognizing their music, what they have. I love that. That was a great, I love the uses whenever you kick. I don't, like, you know, like the get sturdy, right? So they had similar kind of movement quality that is similar to the family of the sturdy, right? So whenever they kick, it's just kind of nice. It feels like it's relevant to the times, because that was a viral thing within the past couple of years. But of course, that's been around as well. That little bit that we just saw with the twist, I really liked the usage of their legs here. Yeah, so what you notice, and if you want to create this illusion, they had their hand as a fixed point as they turned, and they let their legs control and lock in the rest of the body as they twisted. So that's a really common trend I'm noticing in this song in particular, is you have these smooth moments. They also have these hard-hitting movements, but they're not so overbearing. But they also have these subtle fixed points that are happening, whether it's with the hand or the shoulders or the entire arms, that is really captivating, or creating these really pocket interruption moments that really capture your attention. So that was a really nice boom twist that matches the auto tune that we just heard. And then they bring it back where you were just focusing on, and that's what really helps it feel more satisfying, because you're already focused around where they were shooting their arm back out, which was really nice. This is, I would say, this is more of a breather than their most recent comeback, Bona Bona. So I can see how they're able to do a lot more. I'm assuming the song is honestly longer, and you don't have as many breaks because there's not as many people. So I think the choreography worked in their favor here, where it's not super crazy. I think it's simpler to a degree, What makes it more difficult is when they do this trend with this chorus, and we do see this chorus multiple times, when they have these really big hits and they're hitting that ch-ch. So it helps those who have not heard the song before, like myself, be able to focus on the key parts you want me to get out of your song besides your lyrics. So I really do like the choreographic choices here. Yeah, and this one is just like, that was just a nice little moment to just kind of sit in the sexy concept, right? And just allowing them to just sing or say what they want to say without doing too much. You have to be mindful when you do in this style, you can't do too much because the song doesn't call for it. And they've done a wonderful job as the ones who are doing the choreography, but the choreographers too, they didn't overkill it because they very easily could. There's a fine line you got to do. If you're going to do sexy, sexy doesn't have to be boring. It can be tasteful. And I would say this is pretty tasteful because it has some nice moments where you can just kind of sit in it, enjoy the texture, enjoy the movement, but then also enjoy the concept that they're trying to use as well. So there's that. So they're melting and they come up quickly. So I really like that. Let's just talk about that very briefly. Melt 2, 3, 4. So they melt down. It looks like they use their legs to wave it back up. So it's not a complete reversal. What you do in those moments is a slow sink. You want to start from the upper body, melt it all the way down, and then you use your legs to reverse it. But you can choose a different pathway. You just want to make sure that you're hitting in the way you want to hit. Now they're going to be vibing all the way over here. See, there's the body roll. It's now verse 2. They're integrating the body roll, but we have some backbeats happening that weren't there before. So their movement has to pick up the pace a little bit more, but not in a way where it's so different than what we've already seen. So they're doing some pretty simple grooves. I really like this one here. It was just nice to have some unison like that with your feature in the front. Boom, boom, and boom, boom. Yeah, that was nice for him to use the hands. If you think about it, that whole section right there, it's very even in movement. It's ambidextrous per se. So you notice where they would do it in sets of 2 or in sets of 4. And let's go back and let's actually look at that real quick. So they come over here, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Right, so they do 1, 2, and then they switch it. Completing the phrase, so they're doing 4 grooves, but you have a set of 2 and a set of 2. Then we do 1, and then they do another, so there's 2 right there. And that's why it feels so complete, is that they're evenly distributing the grooves between the sections. And it makes it cleaner. Look, and there they did that again, where they hit 2 times. 3, 4. There's the 2 again. There's that 2 again. And there's that 2 again. So this one here, though, it's the technique that you're hitting is in 2, but the direction is different. So that's how that looks subtly different than what we've just seen. But that's the trend of verse 2 that I have seen right here. That's different than some of the other treasure videos that I've watched, because I've really only seen one at this point. That one, there wasn't as many moments where they were chilling in an even count pocket. And what I mean by that is, like I've already mentioned, when you have sets of 2 or sets of 4 in your grooves going on both sides. So this probably feels really good to do. I know they're probably exhausted because it's a dance practice, right? And they had to practice, do this multiple times. So, but this section probably wasn't the most brutal compared to their dance break at the end, where they didn't have as many of these types of pockets. They're the same thing, da 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 da. They did it on both sides. That was nice. That was a nice little shamrock moment. There's 2. This was really cool. Couple of things I want to point out. So the people who are in control of this are going to be my 2 guys right here. These guys are more so helping on the tail end of this movement, but we also got to hand it to our guy right here. He's done a fabulous job. I'm assuming they did this live because that's kind of the pattern of comebacks. They do a whole stint on music shows, they do it live, and I know a lot, at least this year and a couple years leading up to this, people are really sensitive to people not singing live on these shows. So I would assume that they sang live, and he probably had a big responsibility of, it's tricky when you're in something like that where you're dependent on other people. to actually make sure you're not going to fall over. Very impressive that he's probably had to overcome that. Regardless of how close you are with someone, it is hard to overcome that whenever you are put under adrenaline, right? It's hard to trust. So I'm assuming that he probably did very well singing while doing this particular part, which kudos to him. Even on both sides. So now you notice, so we've seen this before, it goes 4, and then it goes back to the chill. That's always a really nice choreographic choice to do that. So they did it on both sides. So that actually is really nice. It goes, I think that's just the pattern of this track in particular, is they frame it really well with sequences, but then they kind of, it feels like a Viking ship where you have movement over here and then they switch it to the other side. And so it's even on both sides within the phrases, which matches the phrase structure of the song. So that was really nice. They're not doing too much, which I love. There's the same footwork section. Yep, and I think we pretty much touched this section already. That boom, boom. I really like their setup with their angle, because it's really tricky to actually twist your body to create the angle you want while also being on one leg. Then they create a speed change by going around to, I believe, touching the head. So that was a really nice choice there for the choreo that goes boom. It feels like a suction of music, which is nice. Transition, very nice, clean. They did that again. And then there's the start of their, hey, by the way, this is a sexy concept. Here's our lyrics. You kind of get the idea. And then we're going to show you a little bit of, we've worked really hard for this comeback, is what this feels like. And I bet that's how they feel. They're like, I worked so hard. I went to the gym. I got a personal trainer. I got it all figured out. Please respect the effort I've put in, pretty much, is what this feels like, right? I really like that movement, and they sit in it with the reverb, and then they go, ha, ha. To me, this feels like a stylistic thief, right? So I really like that moment, and they do it often. This is just clean, and they're being really tasteful in their choices of when they're in unison, when they're breaking apart, when they're mirroring, whenever one person's breaking off and the others are staying. I mean, they're not overkilling the formations, but they're doing enough to keep your attention, which is great. Boom, there it is. But notice that one, boom, they're about to set up for the next section, which I don't even think I touched on in the initial song, because I was just trying to process what was happening. But notice that they didn't drop all the way down and back up, because instead they're hitting, and they kept it in the upper body so they can transition with the lower half to this section right here. Transition, so he goes down. Now I'm assuming that they did this with the camera for the live. Remember, this is my first time even looking at this. So that's what I'm going to assume, because a lot of times they choreograph that in. So there's really not much to talk about. I really feel that the bridge, I don't remember initially what I read, but I know that what he's doing makes sense, like with the head roll and the intention, the eye contact, and everybody is framing him. So I will say I haven't seen this type of engagement in a K-pop dance that often. So I think this was a nice, innovative choice to go with this approach for this type of song and concept. But I bet this was probably, well, we had one of them actually touch his face and the other one pull. So I do like those choices, because it keeps you, he's able to still sing without, because remember, he's laying down, so it's already hard enough to sing laying down. But then whenever you have people pulling your attention, you're going to have tension in the back of the neck, so you have to factor that in while you're singing. So he's doing a great job multitasking while he's trying to hold his notes. Just because he's not, that right there, just because he's not doing a lot doesn't mean it's not difficult. Now that part, I didn't really notice that the first time. Having to sing, when you have to hold a note and then people have to lift you like that, it's really hard to not be affected. So I would say kudos to him too if I watched a live and they're like, yeah, I held this note, what you gonna do about it? Mad impressive. And here are all of my other dancers coming in. That was fun. So that was a really cool moment. Whenever they're waving through, but they're all waving in different directions to create chaos, and then they all bring it back together, and it really helps with that sound. And then they, on the crash, they'll come back together. That was nice. Okay, I'm gonna make a little note here. So whenever you're gonna do head isolations like that in a very typical position, my only note for that is I really wish that they focused. This part looked great. The second half, because they've done fixed points throughout the dance, it makes sense why they wanted to do a fixed point like that to initiate the dance break. However, I really feel that not just my main 5, but a lot of the dancers, because these are dancers, right? This is what they do. I would have hoped that I would have seen more fluency in the second half of that head ISO. Now that's just for me as a teacher, and when I teach head ISOs, I'm very intentional about the second half of that shift with the counterbalance or the counter shift of where your energy is going between your head and the rest of your body. I'm just more sensitive to it because I teach it more often than other techniques. So that's just my big note for that. They did it again. Oh, no, they didn't. I just rewinded it. So they hit, boom, and so whenever they hit, they did a reverb. So it's not the same as a rebound. I've already touched on this before in another video. Whenever you rebound, it's the equal amount of energy as you hit, as you come back with a reverb. It goes from big and then it chills out. So what they did is it was very similar to when you see like a scarecrow or puppeting. They have that kind of reverb with the dangling of the hands and the head. So that was a really nice moment there to separate. Out, in. So it goes dun, 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 dun. So they kept it really tense. So they stop, and then they brought it around. Now, I would assume that they used a hit of some kind instead of just a dime stop, because dime stops aren't as strong or seen as more powerful than a tick or as a pop. So there's a good chance that they went pop, pop. So they engaged a little bit more of that diaphragm to make it more explosive. And that's what people relate popping to, is popping's more explosive. In comparison to dime stops, they're more controlled. And so that part is why it looks so much bigger than their other moments that they did earlier on in the piece. It's not just the music, it's how they chose to execute it in their torso. Oh, I just noticed he was wearing a Pikachu Gotta Catch 'Em All shirt. That's fun. That's nothing to do with this dance, but that was fun. And so here's the sexy concept coming back. You have your dancers. I do find it funny that one of them started here and then went across versus just starting whenever you're gonna do that. Normally they just tap on that lower lip, but I mean, here's the thing. I mean, they're just hitting with the concept. And they do nice big grooves. They finish their chorus. So that was nice, where everybody else threw their hands except for, I'm assuming he was my singer at that point. My Gotta Catch 'Em All. That was a nice little hold. It was boom. Yeah, that was fun. Good. Yeah. And I will say that hits different when you got 10 people doing it versus just 4. So that's why it just hits a little bit different. But my dancer over here, he got the timing wrong, or he was hitting it a little bit. Yeah, I think he lowered his arms a little bit too early because I caught it. When everybody else was up, he was chilling right here. But, you know, he was in the back, so it's not as noticeable. That was a nice moment where you take your formation, it goes out, and then when you hit and you jump, they jump towards the inside, and that's how you create that more of a clump, from a big to a clump, a lot easier. Very easy way to do that. And everybody hits this. This choreo just looks really nice. This choreo just looks really nice when you have a lot of people doing it, I will say. Whenever you just see the 5 and then you see everybody do it, I'm going to naturally lean towards numbers, especially if it's in unison and everyone's because it's just more impressive. And this was a nice finisher where they're chill. Nice. And I did notice a couple times, I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but they would like stick their tongue out like, you know? And I've mentioned this before, whenever you encounter a dancer or you encounter somebody and they're like, you know, they're kind of feeling it in the moment. And so that was a nice little indicator of he was enjoying what he was doing, or he was really invested in the concept. So I think that's the end of it. Yeah. And then I could tell they were staring at that camera waiting for it to go up. So they're like, thank goodness. Wow. So Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think the choreography matched the music very well, and it looks like that they enjoyed it, and it seems like a lot of you guys enjoyed it too, especially because a few of you recommended this particular treasure routine and song to me, so thank you for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. I hope I was able to kind of describe a move or a choice or suggestion that they may have done that that would kind of explain their intention behind the choices that they made throughout their piece. And I'm a fan of K-pop in the sense of I really like the different choices and different avenues that you can take as an artist, but also in the song choices and the choreographers that are selected. I know they've done more of puzzle piecing choreographers based on the type of song or the section of the song, so I think it's really cool that there's more opportunities for choreographers to collaborate with other people that they normally wouldn't. So I think that's great. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.